My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting techniques, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 201. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Clews. The indie rock sister duo have returned to our airwaves for the second time in 2022 in the form of their new single, Everything Is Heavy. In today's episode, we're speaking with co-frontwoman Lily Richardson about songwriting with her sister, her experiences as a female identifying artist in music, and Easter eggs within the band's music. Here we go. Our guest today is one half of indie rock duo Clews. Having burst onto the scene in 2018, the sister duo have built a following with their candid grunge sound and have supported the likes of Albert Hammond Jr. and Portugal the Man. Late last month, they released their brilliant new single, Everything Is Heavy. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Lily from Clews. How are we?
Woo! I'm actually good. This is actually just the end of my workday and, just the icing on the cake of my afternoon.
Look, I very much appreciate that we are the last thing. There's only freedom standing between. We're standing between your freedom. So, look, I appreciate it, Lily.
No, you're not. This is my freedom. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I was going to discuss firstly that you are no stranger to podcasts, that this isn't your first rodeo, that we did have the Love Clews podcast last year for a period of time. And I was going to ask, whether you were missing that kind of lifestyle of the pod lifestyle.
Simon, you have done a lot of deep diving today and I love it. Yes, good old Love Clews. One season and then into the sunset. No, actually, we did make that podcast. Was that last year or the year before? I don't know. Yes, I love podcasts and I love podcasting, and I know that it's a very specific, skill to do. So mad respect. But I actually do miss our podcast a little bit because it was such an interesting feather to add to the Clews cap because, at shows or in our DMs or whatever, people sometimes say to us how much they might like our songwriting or our songs, which is always really awesome. But like when someone says to us, oh my gosh, I listened to the podcast and this episode really specifically spoke to me about what I was going through in my life, I'm like, oh my God, wow, that's like so special for some reason because it's so specific. So yeah, I actually do miss it a bit.
You guys did have I loved personally the varied guest list that you had. I think that you went from pop, like Upsal to These New South Wales to Montaigne, of didn't exclude anyone, which I loved. So I thought that was fantastic. So hopefully with any future release, we do see a season 2, but that is not what we're here to talk about today. We are here to talk about Everything Is Heavy, which is the brand new single from Clews. So firstly, congratulations on this single. It's a huge track.
Thanks. Yes, I like it.
I'm glad to hear that it has passed your test because I'd be worried if you were releasing stuff you didn't like.
Yes. No, but thank you.
Of course. This single is I think it's the second track that we've heard from Clews this year, but it's a little bit I want to say darker or heavier, like in sound. And I know that this one was produced by Oscar from Holy Holy. Firstly, where I guess was the inspiration from this song coming from, and I guess what are those lyrics touching on?
Yeah, I guess it has been said a lot or a few times around the like little interviews and stuff I've been doing about the song where everyone's like, wow, it's a lot darker and a lot heavier. And it obviously intentionally is that way because, you know, it's hopefully going to be part of a bigger body of work, and we wanted to have a sound that was a little darker and not more serious, but had a bit more gravitas and had that sort of dark, grungy guitar sound that we like. But I don't know, I think it's like as we get older, not even just Grace and me, as everyone gets older, we start going through a lot more in life that needs to be taken seriously. Not that I take anything too seriously, mind you, but I think in Everything is Heavy, we really let ourselves go, oh, wow, like life gets real sometimes and you have to like go through that and feel those feelings or let that really wash over you. And life is serious and heavy sometimes, and that's kind of what has come through on this song. A bit more, which I actually like, because Grace and I are very, water off a duck's back kind of people, I would say. But I think this song was taking a moment to be like, oh, damn, no, like sometimes life gets real. And it's not always in a good way, but it's always in some kind of way. Does that make sense? I don't know.
It does 100%. I very much appreciate you, I guess, opening up to us about it. It is a brilliant track, as I've mentioned. It is slightly darker. One thing I wanted to talk about, I guess, is because if you go through the Clews social media, previous interviews, music videos, it does seem like you guys, in a very respectful way, don't take things too seriously, that there is an element of fun about the band.
Yeah.
So, meant as a compliment, let me clarify.
Taken.
But yeah, I guess with this track, it did seem like there was a little bit more at play. With this in mind, when it comes to the songwriting between yourself and Grace, how do you approach writing something like this that is a little bit more serious? And yeah, how do you sit down and kind of really tackle it with, because I imagine that it's a bit of fun being in the studio yourselves with Oscar and I guess having a song like this come out in a way that's still sincere, not too jokey.
Yeah, totally. I actually remember there was one moment in the studio when Oscar turned around and was like, oh, that's really sad, like talking about one of the lyrics or something. And I was like, yeah, it is. But I'm just beaming the whole time when I'm in the studio. So you're right. It is like recording is really fun. But in terms of writing, I guess because Grace and I are sisters, so it's sort of like we're always on the same page in terms of what's going on in our lives emotionally, because we're just very close as people. So it's not like we ever have to start with scratch when we're writing a song together, because we kind of already know, where we're at and what we're both going through in life. So with Everything is Heavy, I think I started most of it by myself. And then, we went on like a little songwriting trip together up to our friend's property in Mudgee, actually. It's always nice when you can go away and like be like, this is a day we're going to write songs, and have that consume your whole headspace. Anyway, we did that. And we wrote, I think, the choruses together and finished it off. And it does come pretty easily to us because, like I said, we already have that connection to each other's lives. So it's strange when I was reflecting on this so much, because even since that song we've both gone through like even more heartbreak, even in the most recent time since we released that song. And it's like, even listening to it now, I'm like, oh, we were even in a different place when we wrote it, but it's still applicable to our lives. So it's really strange. Like, I hope that when people listen to it, they feel like it can apply to their lives in some way. And I'm going off on some sort of tangent, but it's like once you pull a little string, it all unravels out of my brain.
No, look, I appreciate you telling us that. I am sorry to hear that there has been further heartbreak. As a silver lining, hopefully we're going to get some brilliant Clews music from this if we have to try and find some
I've been writing like crazy. Yeah, absolutely right. Yes.
I'm glad to hear that. The music video, it is darker, both in the sense of, I guess, actual lighting, but in the mood, I guess. One thing that did stand out from the video that I feel like is a trademark of all the Clews videos is that there is still synchronised or choreographed dancing between the two of you.
Yeah.
It took me a few videos to be like,
yeah.
Yeah, there's still elements of it, yeah. But
damn, Simon, this much to you. I love it.
I have to keep on my toes. Have to. With I guess having these little traits in the music video. Where did this start? And is it something now that you feel almost every video, even if it's a little? I'm going to try and do one. Even if it's a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you're recording the video for this podcast. Simon's doing the everything video. Is heavy certified choreography. Yeah, I don't know. I think that, well, we always make our video with the same cinematographer who's our really, really good friend, basically third Clue sister Maya. So it helps that we've worked with the same person throughout literally, every iteration of Clues videos so far. So there's always obviously that common thread. And then I think that when I listen to music and there are artists that I like, I love artists that do little Easter eggs or have motifs. Like when I was a teenager, I loved Taylor Swift, and I loved that everything in her art could be dissected and kind of, it wasn't just a music video, it was part of this like big crazy mind map with red threads going everywhere. So I think that just little things like that in the way that I engage with artists and listen to music has kind of, and Grace as well, has infiltrated the way that we do it in Clues, because we are conscious of like, oh, let's have this little motif, or let's make this be a little thing that we do. Like you said, I don't know if necessarily anyone even really picks up on it, but it's just like fun for us. Like a big ethos of ours is doing things that we would like. If we were fans of Clues, like what would we like Clues to do? But because we are Clues, we get to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can have that mindset or the train of thought of like what would we want to see, but then you're also in control of executing it. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Yeah,
so it's like you get to do it. Yeah, exactly. And also, I mean, we've it's not like Grace and I are actors or have a whole band that we kind of use in the videos, and they're, it's really just us running around with Maya. So any way that we can make it visually engaging, sometimes little twinning dance moves helps with that, so it just makes sense.
Of course. Well, it has been noticed, but I think it's a wonderful trait that I hope does continue. Very quickly before I kind of continue on with Clues, I guess, are you excited about this Friday? Speaking about Taylor Swift, are you excited about, I think it's the new album comes out on Friday.
Yes. Okay. Now, I thought that the new Arctic Monkeys album and the Taylor Swift album are coming out on the same day, but I could be wrong. But if so, that's like the duality of my teenage personality is basically converging on whatever next Friday is. Anyway, yes, I am very excited. And it's just like...
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you? If people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else. Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Yeah, don't even get me started talking about other people's music because I'm the biggest music nerd / fan. So, yeah, I'm very excited. And, there's a lot of great music in this world, isn't there, Simon? Jeez Louise.
There is. Look, this episode will be coming out on Friday, but if we'll still be tagging you. But if we don't hear anything, we know where you are. You'll be listening to Arctic Monkeys, Taylor Swift, and I think I'll
be on the Reddit thread, so on the TikTok scroll hole, being like dissecting it all.
Please let us know what you find. I'm very curious to see what those albums do uncover. I was wondering if you'd indulge me. Obviously, you've said you and Grace do have that similar mindset because you are sisters. You've come up in the band together. I was wondering whether you'd be able to share at least your experience with when you first found music when you were little and I guess first began songwriting or writing lyrics.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. When we first found music, what a great way to describe it. Yeah, obviously I can only speak for myself because Grace is not here. But I think that we were so lucky, both of us, because we grew up in a very musical household. And not just a musical household, like our dad was kind of in this like touring, like festival-ish kind of band in the States in the 90s and the noughties when we were kids. And we spent, when I was maybe like 8 and Grace was, or maybe younger, I don't know, maybe when I was like 6 or 7 and Grace was a little younger, we spent a couple of years over there on tour with them in LA, and like Mum was managing them, and it was just like this whole rock and roll whirlwind of literally like going on tour and staying in hotel rooms with the fam and kind of like helping the merch girls sling CDs at shows and hanging backstage and just like being, not that, my dad wasn't in like a big famous band. It was just like something that they did and it was fun. But we were totally enmeshed like fish in water to music and to what like a life in music looked like. And I think that we were just so lucky to have that because, I don't know, it made us, like, I don't even understand how we learnt to sing or how we got our ear for harmony. Like, it's literally just from Mum and Dad singing all the time. So it's hard to like find a starting point, but I do remember really clearly, like Mum and Dad had this huge CD collection that filled up like this big TV cabinet in our house, and Mum one day was like decluttering everything and going through CDs and deciding which ones were going to be kept and which ones were going to go to Vinnie. And she put the Jeff Buckley Sketches from My Sweetheart, the Drunk CD, which is like his kind of the album they put together after he died, in the Vinnie's pile because Mum doesn't like Jeff Buckley. And I just thought like the cover was really cool. And this is when I was in year 6, so I don't know how old I would have been, maybe 11 or 12 or something. I don't know how old children are at that stage. But I like took that CD because it just for some reason I was drawn to it, and I like fell totally in love with it. And I was just like, that's the first time I think that I really remember music spoke to me just organically and wasn't in the way that like, oh, I like this because my friends like it, or I like this because my parents put it on. I was like, no, I just like am hearing this CD with cold, fresh ears for the first time, and I love it so much. And so I think that, yeah, I'll always remember that moment as being like, oh, this is a sound that I just like completely by myself. And my taste has not really gravitated away from that ever. Like I clearly just, for some reason, I like guitars and I like songwriting. Yeah, so that was a kind of strange, organic musical moment, I guess.
I love that. That album as well is it's not a difficult album, but especially for someone, as you mentioned, as someone in around year 6 or year 7, like that album is it's adult album, if that makes sense. That's
Yes,
I love
totally.
that was what you kind of connected
And
with.
obviously I realised that more as I grew up and got older with it. I don't know. At the time I probably just thought it was edgy and cool and had a crush on Jeff Buckley or something. I don't know.
Look, I think at some point we've all had a crush on Jeff Buckley, so I think that is very, very fair.
Ain't that the truth?
With coming up in the band with your sister, obviously there is that connection between you two, and so you're able to kind of share these experiences with one another and with someone that you are so close with. I believe that it was yourself that recently completed your honours in was it a thesis?
God damn, Simon, you are so good. I can't believe you read that far down the presser. Yes.
Why wouldn't I?
Simon.
You recently finished your thesis in female identifying artists and their experience in music. And I guess the fact that obviously it is something that you and your sister have been through, still going through, what the experiences was like in writing that and researching that, and I guess what you found from it, if that makes sense. I don't know I know it's such a general question, but I guess, what you found, that surprised you in it.
Well, so I did my undergrad, my bachelor at uni was criminology, just randomly, obviously while I was being in a band at the same time, being I want to be in rock and roll. And then I did my honours thesis project was, like you said, women identifying artists' experiences of gender discrimination and sexual violence in the music industry. And I started it probably just before the big Me Too movement kind of happened in Australian music. And then, I finished my thesis kind of just before the big national inquiry review came out and everything. So it was a really crazy time to be doing it because it felt really exciting because everyone's been talking about this a lot more. But it was also pretty, I don't know. It's something I'm really into. I think I'm going to be doing my PhD in it over the next few years, hopefully starting next year. So I'm kind of want to be in that world because I just love being a woman in rock music, and I love seeing other women on stage and taking up spaces that weren't there even when I was a kid, 20 years ago, which doesn't seem like that long ago. But I don't know. It was really strange because obviously with the whole Me Too movement, and all the work that's been done by people like Jaguar Jones and everything in Australian music, it shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone that gender discrimination is huge in the industry because it's a male-dominated industry, and obviously it's a microcosm of society in general, and sexual violence and gender discrimination are very kind of omnipresent everywhere. But it was interesting because I spoke to women who work in music. It was a primary research project, so I spoke to 8 women or women identifying artists. And the women who were closer to my age or maybe around 30 years old were able to reflect on their careers in music and how much positive change has been happening and how, we're obviously moving in a good direction in terms of representation and gender parity in music. But I think the biggest surprise to me was speaking to a couple of younger women who had started their careers in the last couple of years, who were maybe literally 18, 19, and they already had experiences of being told, oh, you need to avoid this guy producer, or oh, men are being really inappropriate to them at shows, or they had, and obviously it's a bit heavy to talk about, but they had experiences of gender discrimination and experiences on the spectrum of sexual violence that you would think are starting to be stamped out in music. And I was just surprised that women who were younger and had come to the industry sort of within this Me Too era and post-Me Too era was still experiencing that. So I think it's just important for people to realize that it's a huge issue that isn't going to be kind of solved overnight, I guess. So that was big for me. But it was an amazing project, and yeah, it just made me so happy to be working in music.
100%. Well, I can only imagine. I haven't had the ability to read it. If it does get published one day, I do look forward to reading it. But I imagine that it was doing quite a lot of good work from there. And as you mentioned, I think that, and it's difficult to say I can acknowledge from a straight male's perspective that that there are slow changes, but probably not enough, not quickly enough either. But hopefully that is going to change, and that we do see that balance kind of come back and give a little bit more power to women and to people of colour, and in the loveliest way. And I mean, no offence to anyone with this, but like, I feel like we've all heard the white man's story enough times now. It's 2022. Let's kind of make space for some other people.
Oh, Simon, it's so true. Yeah, and it's so nice to hear you say that, because it is true. Like, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in most male-dominated industries. You know, a lot of like these spaces need to be decolonized, and they need to have room for people, you know, not just women, for gender diverse people, and like I said, for people of color and everything. And there's obviously like a big shift happening, I think, maybe collectively in society as a whole. Like, I think we're moving to an amazing kind of progressive place. But it is comforting, I think, to look back and be like, damn, like I look around our scene and I'm like, there's a lot more girl bands around now than there were like 8 years ago. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome and so cool. And so, yeah, I think that is happening.
Agreed. I think even we won't focus on this for too much longer, but I would agree, even just seeing the volume of female identifying artists even this year that have put out fantastic music. I think a lot of the best of end of year lists you'll see this year will be predominantly female or gender diverse people as well. So
totally.
With that, we'll put that to rest. I would love to talk about going on tour, because I know that you've been playing shows all this year with the likes of Hockey Dad, Boy and Bear. We mentioned Oscar before with Holy Holy, but you are about to head out on the road next week, and then throughout December, January and Feb for some shows of your own. How are you feeling about getting the band back out on the road and playing some shows of your own?
Oh, so good. We definitely got thrashed by touring at the start of this year, which we were so happy about, obviously, because, you know, not much touring had been happening in the couple of years prior to that. But yeah, after we did a lot of touring inside this year, Grace and I were like, oh my God, we need to just stop for a second and like recuperate, which was strange for us because we haven't really had a chance to be like a relentlessly touring band yet. We try and play a lot, but it's definitely an interesting experience being on the road so much. But it was amazing. But yeah, we've had a little break now, and we are ready to rock, literally. I think that the Clews shows have become like so fun for us. And I think also like the more we put out more music, the more people sing our songs back to us at shows, and we start to realize, oh my God, it's still crazy to me that someone comes to a show like specifically to see us, and they'll be like singing this specific song and come up to us afterwards and be like, oh, I like, you know, yeah, this lyric or whatever. And it's just, I'm just like, oh my God, that is so cool. So yeah, playing shows is very, very special to us. And it's something that like we want to do. We want to be a live band. We want to be a touring band, and we are. And it's just like so fun. So yeah, I'm feeling really good about it. And yeah, the shows have definitely become something that we think about a lot. And we always try and level up what the live show is going to be. So, yeah, we've got like some little festival things and then a bunch of headline shows in January, I think, which will kind of be, yeah, super fun. But we're feeling good about it and we can't wait.
I have spoken to a few people who feel that have the same sentiment. They can't wait. We are an Adelaide-based podcast, so I think you're here in February, so we're looking forward to seeing you then.
Yes, it's going to be our first time playing at the Cranker. Don't people call it the Crown and Anchor?
That is exactly what they call it. I love that.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Well, that's like, oh my God. I didn't actually know that you were in Adelaide. The last time we went to Adelaide, we haven't been there that much, but it was for a Boy and Bear show. And we had the most sensational time. And we weren't going to go to Adelaide on this like January tour. And I specifically said to Harry, our amazing booking agent, I was like, please, 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 let's go and do a headline show in Adelaide. So if everyone could come down to the Cranker, that would be great because, yes, we don't know Adelaide that well, but I think very fondly of it.
Well, please, if you need any tips, please reach out, but I'll make sure that myself and others are there at the Cranker in Feb.
Oh, Simon, you're VIP for life. Don't even worry.
Yes, thank you. I guess for those people starting out, for younger musicians who are starting out, do you have any advice on or like a top 2 things that you have found that are important to kind of maintain while on tour or on the road?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'm qualified to give advice on this, but I would just say it's actually an interesting one because at least this whole year, I don't drink, or at least I say I don't drink, but at the moment I really haven't been drinking like at all. Stone cold sober. I don't think I drank on tour last time, and it really was awesome. And I was like, I feel so good. Not that I drank a lot anyway, but it was definitely like interesting. Yeah, if you're not, I don't really do the whole like tour party girl vibe because I like to sleep and I like to not be hungover. So I don't know. It depends how much you want to get amongst it. But my one tip for people going on tour is like say hello to as many people at your show as possible because that's how you make friends in the cities that aren't your hometown. So that would be like my big, I don't know why I went on my non-drinking rant, but like try and stay hydrated and say hi to people. They're my 2 tips.
I think they're brilliant tips. They're basics, but like something that people forget. I think they're fantastic tips.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Lily, lastly, we would usually ask our guests what they're currently listening to, if there's anything that's currently on high rotation for yourself.
Oh, my God. Okay, yes. All right, let me think. Well, my big album this year, like the album, has been the Fontaines DC record, which I don't even know if that came out this year or last year. You know how time kind of blurs together. But,
yes.
Oh, my gosh, I've been listening to a lot of Fred again, of all his new singles. There's a couple of huge bangers on the Tuvlo album that Maya, my housemate, put me onto. And what else? The Kid Cudi album is really amazing. I really like that. And also the Alex G album. Oh, my gosh, Runner from that Alex G album. I think it's like the 2nd or 3rd track is so good. So I don't know, I have a pretty mixed bag of what I've been listening to at the moment, but I also went through a really dry spell up until like probably a month ago, and I just wasn't, usually I'm really onto it trying to like find new music all the time, but I don't know, I think it's strange when we're in a big stage of recording or writing or making music, you kind of go into a bit of a tunnel of like your own sound, I guess. And so only in the past few weeks I've been like, all right, who's out there? What's going on? So that little list that I just rattled off has been my like total soundtrack of life over the past, like, I don't know, couple of months.
That's very cool. It was, as you mentioned, it is a bit of a mixed bag, but I love that. I think that variety, it's terribly cliche and it's something that everyone's mum or dad says, but variety is the spice of life. It's good. It's great to have that kind of mixed genre.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Lily, thank you very much for coming onto the podcast today. I do appreciate it. We will be putting the links to the shows across the next few months in the podcast show notes so everyone can come see you. But congratulations on the new single, Everything is Heavy.
Simon, thank you. You are actually a damn delight. This has really lifted my spirits. I had a wonderful time.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Lily Richardson for her time. Everything is Heavy is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to buy tickets to see Clews on their tour. We also want to give a huge shout out to Bronwyn at Sony Music Australia for helping out with today's interview. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning, and we now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.